Well, here we are once again, 2 days in a row. Beautiful backdrop.
And I have to say, this must be the most beautiful recording studio I've ever been in.
For sure. And it is a recording studio, right?
It is indeed officially our friend, our friend down at iHeartRadio, Billy Harfosh.
Hi, Billy.
Hey, Billy. No, he definitely did do some nice recording here, and hopefully he'll be back to do that. And other people, other artists. Just recently, we had a young artist, Cassie Jade. She released a music video in your room last week, Moonstone. I think it's called The Breakfast Song. And so you can go and check the reel. It's on the Instagram.
Okay, I will
and you
definitely
can
do
see
that.
the, might you say, beautiful breakfast we put out while she released it. I want to say she released it live. It's literally filmed in the bed you're sleeping.
Oh, neat.
That's pretty cool. Wow. I think I just saw some wildlife over there too. Like it looked like like some sort of tropical monkey or something just swinging. It's beautiful
A
back
gazelle jumped out of the woods.
Yes, a rainbow. No, Adam, thank you from A Taste of AZ as a collective for having us out, man, and hosting us here, and just the hospitality has been incredible.
Well, as I say, we'll raise our glasses and we'll say cheers, welcome in.
Cheers,
we're glad to have you at the
Cheers.
Creekside Inn, so thank you very much for coming up.
Yes.
And thanks to Emil and Cindy, because we're drinking delicious Cove Mesa.
Absolutely,
Yes.
indeed.
Yes.
And Marissa Rain-Lavie, she helped us out with this as well.
Yes, she's the hostess with the mostest.
There you go.
Who's this?
Melissa is their PR.
She knows how to put
yes.
everybody together. That's for dang sure. No doubt about it. So we're very happy about that.
Well, shout out to everybody then. So,
and also
that
we
brings
have
us
Sedona
here.
beer on the table. She was here yesterday with you.
Yep.
We talked a little beer yesterday, didn't we?
We did.
Local beer.
Local beer.
Very local beer.
Very local beer, and Sedona Beer Co.'s involvement in the community. Collie, specifically, not taken away from anybody else, but you said how much of a figure she is in this community.
Oh, yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, she's a young leader. She's a young leader.
She's a badass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where is that located? I'm going
so
to
it's in
stop
Uptown. It's just behind the main road, and
Yeah.
so it's and so she's been there now. I think want to say what we heard yesterday.
Like 4 years.
Yeah.
3-4 years,
but the cool thing is because the way things work up here, sometimes it does get quite a little bit busy. I don't know if you guys have been up in town, try to go out to eat. Well, during the high season, it's a little bit more challenging to maneuver. So
on a Saturday night, it takes forever to get through.
Well,
that.
certain places, like where did you have lunch today, Christina?
Mariposa.
Yeah, and
which actually was not busy at all, so we just hit it at the right time.
Well, this is like a normal summer, as you would say in Sedona. The last few years with COVID and everything like that, we had a tremendous amount of visitors just all year long. Yeah. Driving up, driving through, going about. And so, but sometimes at Mariposa in the high season, you could be 6 weeks out to get a reservation.
Yes, I've tried that before to make a reservation, and I didn't plan far enough ahead. So.
Yeah. Dang, that's a long time out.
Yeah,
that's some
it
demand.
is. It creates, for us as trying to deliver with a lot of our guests. Now, we're lucky here at the Creekside Inn. As you mentioned, we're in the heart of Sedona. We are within walking distance of the Tlaquepaque Shopping Center that has great shopping. We're directly across the street from the Hillside Center that has some great eating as well. Yeah. And so, a lot of our guests book in a little bit far ahead of time. It's not unusual that somebody will come on a particular weekend or particular week, and they start taking that every year in a row.
Do you have regulars who come every year?
Yeah. We just had a really nice couple from Southern California. Shout out to them. Hopefully they'll listen. They were here, and they had I think they did a week or 10 days last year, and then this year they did 2 rooms. And so it was, it's a slow, as I said yesterday on the beer, it's a slow burn for us here.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the way that Sedona moves. It's a little bit slower than everywhere else. Sometimes we go down to the valley and Phoenix is really busy, right? And then everybody comes up here to slow down.
Yeah.
And they get upset when it's really slow and you have to sit in traffic. It's really slow.
Really slow.
Right?
Yeah, you want it slow.
Right?
This is slow, right?
Really slow.
And you were telling me when we checked in a little bit about the history, like the house next door used to be a dairy.
Well, Sedona was, back in the day, as I say, it was more homesteading. We're on the creek here, as you can imagine, down in the valley and even further down in Tucson, where people were settled. It was hot. In the summer, you come up here, it's 20, 30, sometimes even more.
Mm-hmm.
When the rain comes in, if we were to get a storm today, it may drop to the low 60s real quick up here, from where we were maybe at 99 at the peak last week. So, but people homesteaded. And so along here, we had the facility next door was the dairy barn, and this was the house where the family lived. And so, this was one of the original bed and breakfasts in Sedona. So it's small, as you guys have seen. There's not a lot of people.
Which I think is the charm of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
We're trying to layer on your amenities and what you're doing, your experience, as we say, trying to touch on all the senses of the hospitality.
Yeah.
So you've stayed. Tell me what you've seen. How's the
Put
room? How's
Christina
the bed?
on the
You
spot.
slept last
Well,
night.
I was gonna say put the pressure on
No,
her, but
put
you
me
mean
on
both
the
of us.
spot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, tell me how it is. I mean, we've had some fun with some food. Hopefully, you've eaten some stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's some lemon bars on the table.
Yeah, speaking of amenities.
With rosemary, like with rosemary. That's
I
incredible.
believe, if I'm not mistaken, Chef Caitlin makes that with a rosemary shortbread underneath
what she
the
said.
crust,
Yep.
and then it's a lemon bar on top. And so, in a second, I'll drop, or we could just pass it around. Everybody
Yes.
can grab one and have one. Why don't you drop in there,
Please.
and let us know how that is, and we'll spend those around the shoe.
Spin them around the shoe. I like that. I'm gonna start using that.
So what year was this founded as a B&B?
I just like to say many, many moons ago. We are in Sedona, right? Sure. So, our group acquired it in 2017, and the family before that had run it for about 17 years. They raised their family here, and it was very mom and pop, but they had a very loyal following, and we still have a lot of their guests as well. And so I believe you're staying in the more renovated side of we renovated the majority of our suites in 2018, but we kept some. It was an old English inn. You've traveled a lot, and I know you've been lucky to travel all over the world. And so we had what people would think of was a bed and breakfast, like, in the 80s and 90s. It was old English. There was a library in the lobby, and the rooms were like pink carpet and antique English furniture. And it was run by an Englishman and his wife and their kids. And so we were really grateful because afterwards, their youngest daughter came back and she managed it with us for about a year or a year and a half until we got into the renovation. Then she moved on to doing, I think she helps children now. But, coming back to that whole situation, it's been going on for a long time. It's been here as long as people remember, but the weird thing is, like, Collie, who came here yesterday, she doesn't really, like, growing up here, she's not familiar with it.
With this area, like this little part of town.
I mean, she knows about the part of town, but she doesn't really know the hotel exists.
It is truly a hidden gem.
It is.
Because it's hidden and it's a gem. But
maybe it won't be after this. I mean, it still will.
Yeah.
I mean, look, like, we're after that experience. You guys are into food and beverage, and so I'll let you talk a little about what you experienced in the breakfast, but you would know more about the restaurants. I mean, you get the options sometime to get out a lot more than, let's say, we do. And I'm curious to know what you've seen in the last few weeks, months, because I've seen you guys up here a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think Sedona just grows by leaps and bounds every year.
Since you've
every
been out
season.
here, have you seen it?
Yeah,
Like,
and I've seen the traffic change, but I think it's a food destination now. And what I love about the food that you do here is everything, if they can, is made from scratch. There's regular visits to the farmer's market, excuse me, that inspire the chef to, make things like our breakfast today. I had a breakfast taco, handmade tortillas. The salsas are made from scratch.
And that's made from and I guess we'll highlight it here. And I mean, I guess it's really the goal in hospitality as well, is, let's say, you guys spend a lot of time in the food and beverage heavy side of it as well, is that, we have a real team approach. Marcelo makes our tortillas and some of the best hot sauce and salsa that we have. She also helps clean the rooms. I mean, she's the housekeeper. And that's what we can't get away from her tortillas. They're just the best. But Chef Darren, he executive chef, he puts everything together. He works with the farmers. We know our chicken farmer. We know what the eggs. We know what the birds are eating. That's important to us. The chicken and the egg is really, if you look at it, it's the cornerstone of our meal. And so tonight we're going to do something fun, which is what we do. We do dinner, but it's an unusual affair, whereas normally we do what we're known for is a bed and breakfast, right? And so you got the breakfast this morning, but yeah, everything is scratch driven. Obviously in the middle of winter, we can't get certain berries up here, things like that. And it changes a little bit more seasonally, but tonight you're going to see a very seasonal approach to what's available up here. And we're lucky because we talk about small, and then you go out to some of the restaurants, like you went to Mariposa today. It might be more complicated, I don't know, from where they're at to really try and appear or do the farm to table approach, because they have a lot more covers.
And they need a larger pool of ingredients.
Yeah, and they don't.
Whereas
and
you can do a handful of forage mushrooms on the farm-to-table dinner.
You
for
had
one
that
course.
last time, didn't you?
Yes. How did you know?
Yeah. I was gonna say, I don't. I mean, actually, what's interesting is up in Flag it is mushroom season again. So I don't know that if maybe we will. All I know is I've been
It's a
smelling
surprise.
things out of the kitchen. And I mean, that goes back to the staff. So there's Darren and then Brittany, and you're tasting Caitlin. Her, she has a past in doing many different things, and so like we try and let everybody do what they know how to do, right? And by doing that, you usually get the best out of it. I mean, and so, but the food is very forward with us. We want people to enjoy their breakfast. We want them to enjoy their bed. If they choose to be well rested, then we want them to be well rested. I mean, there's tons of things going on here in Sedona. People get up early, people stay up late. It just depends what you're into.
And I feel like your porches for each room are just so inviting.
Yeah. Yes.
You know, just to linger, to sit in, to have a drink at the end of the day or coffee
nice
in
glass
the
of
morning.
wine.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's BYOB.
Right.
Which is nice. I've brought all Arizona wines tonight.
Nice.
And we have some people out there that, help facilitate. There's a lot of local players in liquor, and you can find people that deliver, and make it a little bit easier. And so, to tiptoe into your territory, my understanding, which I think is going to be a big deal for this neighborhood, having been a California boy growing up, is this recent thing just down south that the Verde Valley got, which is the AVA, which, if I'm
It's a
not
big deal.
mistaken, is the American Viticulture Association.
Area, American
See,
Viticulture
that's why I said I
area.
knew I was bound to mess it up, but they got
Yesterday,
their...
I was like,
It's,
yeah, absolutely.
it's our third and
She knows.
newest.
Yeah.
So Wilcox and Sonoyta were first and second. And I remember I've been following it to see as it goes up the list and the consideration for being approved. So for a while it was right at the top, and so it was nice when it was finally announced. And I think
So what does that mean? Like, what exactly?
it's a prestigious. It certifies this region as being a premier wine tasting area.
Okay.
And there are people who appreciate knowing that the wine they're drinking is from an AVA. They look at the soil, what makes it unique.
Okay. So it's not just it's the community as a whole, as far as like the growing of the grapes, not just like the hospitality side of it. This is the whole
Right,
production.
geology.
Yeah. Okay.
What makes this
Yeah.
a region where grapes thrive,
Okay.
and what contributes to the distinctiveness.
I say
Gotcha.
we're legit now. That's what
Yes.
I mean. That's
Yeah.
really what it comes down to. I mean, but we have a lot of things. So to mix in the wine is really kind of on the commercial side new to the area. Some bigger players I know you have a whole repertoire you're going to bring out tonight for dinner that you're going to enjoy.
Yeah, it was hard to narrow down out of the ones I had at home, which ones to pour. But I tried to do some different varietals depending on what
What are you
we have
bringing?
tonight. I'm going to do one of Maynard's experimental series.
And he also has a local restaurant too, down in Cottonwood
Yes,
as well.
yeah, we
and
try to go there at least
Merkin.
once a year.
Yeah.
Merkin. It's a Mourvèdre and Syrah blend. And then I think I'm going to do a DA Ranch cab.
Oh, I've heard DA. Was that you talking about DA Ranch?
Yeah, I think
yeah.
it's. I mean, I would consider them the pinnacle. I mean, it's just a beautiful approach to wine.
Mm-hmm. And it's one of the most beautiful wineries.
The whole picture.
The whole vineyard. Have you been?
No.
It's
That's-
really a
yeah.
ranch. They have beautiful animals. They have a lake. They have a really nice
They
log
do
cabin.
weddings
Yeah.
and all
Okay.
sorts of venues
Wow,
there because
nice.
it's a lodge. So, but a grand lodge, I would say. It's
They
really
have, I
beautiful.
believe, they also have a couple of units of bed and breakfast in there as
Oh, I
well.
did
You
not
can
know
stay
that.
on site. And so it's a small community up here. We do a lot of weddings. Some of our peak years, we've done 40 or 50 weddings here. And so we have this event lawn that your guests can't see, but they can hear about. I mean, it's pretty sizable. So up here in Sedona, there's not a lot of venues where you can get something sizable like this that's private, where there's not 100 hotel rooms behind it. So we've done weddings very large, but now we say we like to keep it about 99 guests. And that also brings back into like the things that you've maybe seen or heard about in town, is that it is hard to put it on every day and things like that. There's a lot of resources that are kind of we were putting on your food production this morning, and I brought out a table that we use for demo, and you're wondering if it's a real table, and I was like, nah, it's leftover of this, that, and the other, and but resources aren't like really scarce. We're not in a super mountain town. Obviously, we have Prescott nearby, and we have Flagstaff, so we're very lucky in that regard. But sometimes it's very boxed in.
Yeah. Well,
how big is this property?
Yeah. Question.
So we have 2+ acres, but we are stewards of the creek right behind us, which is Oak Creek. And there's an irrigation ditch that runs through here that's veered off of the main part of the creek. And pretty much everybody along here, and it dates back to the homesteading days, they take a lot of pride. That irrigation ditch feeds a lot of people who feed themselves down this creek. And so the water is a big deal in Sedona. I think we were talking about it yesterday, if I recall. Although we're in the middle of the Red Rocks, when you walk out your door, we're in the creek, right? You should feel like you're down in the creek or in the bayou or whatever.
Yeah.
Relaxing. Aside from the tractors running the last 2 days in a row. But that shows also, I mean, Sedona's growing leaps and bounds, and it's expanding. There's exciting things happening. Like Collie said yesterday, she has a second location opening out on Dry Creek Road.
It's very exciting.
And that's exciting when you see young entrepreneurs, growing and doing things. Our business here is not growing. We're not intending to grow. We may someday have some more guest rooms available.
And right now you have 6?
We do. We do. And but when we have a wedding, for instance, that books out. So we always encourage people, actually, from a standpoint of Sedona, to come up during the week. Like last night, you'll feel the difference in town than you will tonight. I mean, you're not going to head out on the town, but it'll be different. It is a big weekend town, especially on the off season, like we're here.
Right.
Yeah.
You can see we're starting to head into like what I call the second spring we have here, like the late fall up north, where we have flowers again. It's kind of cool. And so the weather, though, starts trending downward, whereas at the springtime is where it really runs up like it does down in the valley for you guys.
Yeah. So how many people are on staff here total?
Not that many, but we have a core staff, but we have a lot of local friends and partners. It's a real group effort to make it happen.
Okay.
It's not, and so it's very uncorporate.
I wouldn't have gathered that.
And I guess that lends itself to, in that situation, in size. And I would throw the question back to Christina as a world traveler. I mean, in the best boutiques you've gone into the world, usually there's a very core, great staff. I mean, outside of the U.S., usually they're able to have a larger staff, obviously for labor reasons. I don't need to explain that, but we're very grateful for the staff that we have here. The one thing that's become kind of a prerequisite to be involved here is that you have to be food forward. I mean, we all eat together. Everybody's going to take maybe some of this home if there's pieces over to their family and stuff like that, and they all want to eat what they're making here too. So, but there's times where, one thing doesn't happen or something doesn't happen, and I operate also in the capacity as like now the backup general manager. Brittany really runs that show now. She's got a full staff happening in there. You're going to have a first-class dessert as well. You've had that as well, and she's very talented. She's very young. I mean, Brittany's young, in her young 30s. She's a mom. Darren and I are starting to, get a little bit older than her, but I mean, in that sense, it's really a people coming together, and they want to be here.
Yeah. And I feel like your staff is like family. I think that comes across as everybody loves this property. You're personally invested in it because of that, and I think it shows in the people who stay here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, like with what you guys are doing here, I mean, what you're sitting here, this is your artwork, and as we like to say, like, this is our canvas, and so we want to invite, being in Sedona and being a little bit Sedona, we want to invite everybody to do their art, and so we have our guests that want to come and enjoy, Sedona's finest, and so we're after that just the same way, but we're going to send them out to eat at night. Like, we're after the bed and breakfast. There are certain times where before COVID, we had communal dinner like what you're having here, but it's fickle now. It's different. We have guests that come from a lot from down in the valley, but then we have another, maybe sometimes 4 out of 10 people will come from out of state, and 2 of those may be from California, 1 from Texas, and 1 from Minnesota. In the wintertime, we have a lot of people from a lot of snowbirds.
Yeah,
like you guys do in Phoenix, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But we're seeing more Phoenix up here. We're starting to see, and I think the next generation of Sedona, and I may be ahead, but you're going to see a lot more of what you guys have seen, like the co-branding of great F&B operators now inside the hotels, and I think we're going to see a lot of Phoenix operators up here.
I think with COVID, a lot of people explored what was in their backyard.
Sure.
And discovered things, and I feel
Yeah.
like there's more local travel because of that.
Yeah. He's enjoying that lemon bar, man.
It's
That is so
a perfect lemon bar. It's like just creamy enough and tangy, and
good.
there's one more.
I bet
gotta
you
leave
I
that
could
for
I
Luke,
could
leave
bring
that
the
for
kitchen
Luke.
and get one more for you if you need a dive. But
I'm good. It's good though. Like it's like I'm like trying to focus
well, it
on
should be
something
good.
else.
You're on
yeah.
vacation,
Yeah.
right? Like you're here spending your hard-earned money, and you should have an experience.
Yeah.
Now, what if somebody, you also do lunch? Like, can people arrange?
You can do whatever
lunch
you really
and-
want. If you're booking in and you check in and you really reach out and you figure it out, like you can get whatever you really want here. I mean, within the reasons of what's available within Sedona. I mean, especially as it applies to food and beverage, we've done high-end picnic lunches. We've gotten to a place where our weddings, we've pared down the amount of guests that we really allow, because we used to allow more of a choose your own adventure on the wedding, but there's complications in that being a small town. And I don't know if you've ever come up on a weekend and happened to get, and I'm sure a number of your guests, you catch a truck that, in Black Canyon City or something goes wrong, and all of a sudden your nice cruise an hour and a half north becomes 4 hours, and then you get to town, and then the traffic's rolling,
Right.
right? Well, that's all cool. That may happen to you on Friday, but what happens if that happens to you on Friday, and then Saturday's your wedding, and the caterer gets caught in the same traffic
did not
from
even
Phoenix,
think of that,
and your
yes.
wedding's at 4, and then the food rolls up at 7:30, and it's like everybody's ready to go home.
Because I think one time it took us a mile to go, we were like, I think, where were we staying? I think we were in Village of Oak Creek and going to Uptown. And just that drive, I think, took us almost an hour and a half.
Ugh, yeah. I just park my car and just walk. I'm like, this is where I become homeless.
We'll just
I'm okay
stay
with it.
here and walk over to Mole and Tlacapaki for a
Yep.
little
Hudson's,
wine
have you
tasting
done
at
Hudson
Venazona.
before?
Yes, I
we
like
sent a
the
lot of people to
Hudson.
Hudson. He's a very talented chef,
I haven't
too.
been to they have the Vault also, right?
Yeah, same family. But that's a very quality meal that we say, and so. But you have other friends that have been opening quite a few, and you just mentioned a number. I mean, and they're friends of ours. They've helped us a lot. Like,
The Wild Time Group.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
and they're very.
And they're opening a Japanese place, too.
here.
Yes.
Well, in Huntington Beach, my understanding.
Yeah, I think that one's going to open first.
and then they're going to roll back through. But they took over a former stalwart in the old Sedona, bar and grill, which. So to relate back to how small things relate and work is that we have weddings here, sometimes 200 people, and then where do people stay? And then where do people eat when they're not eating here? Trying to feed 200 people in Sedona on a Friday night is not an easy affair. So hopefully they'll accommodate that. But Old Sedona Grill used to be one of the places that people would go and have bar and drink, because as a lot of your, readers and listeners may know, it gets a little quiet at night sometimes.
Yeah,
right?
very quiet around
Yeah.
here. But that new Stagecoach,
Yes.
that's their
Who'd
goal
you drink
is
with
to be
last night? He makes wicked cocktails too.
That's Danny over at
Yeah.
Salt Rock Kitchen at
I want to
Amara.
have him. I want to have him
He's
make
pretty
me a
spectacular.
drink one time. I love his mustache.
Yeah, yeah. He walked us through some of the new cocktails. So we got.
What
to-
did he have?
I started with a Oaxaca Negroni, and then we had a Mezcal Naran cocktail, and then so some of the newer margaritas, and then a take on the bee's knees, and then he does a clarified milk punch. I don't know if you've ever had that.
That was Rochelle at Atria. Remember she had
Yes,
that?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, so the same
Ooh,
thing where it's it has
That was good.
dairy and fruit, but it's clarified so it's clear. And he had it as a chalkboard special the last time we were there, and it did so well. It's now part of the new menu. So you'll have to try it.
And they're very busy over. I mean, they have a big hotel associated with that, and they have great facilities, and they're right up there in Uptown, and I know they do wicked cocktails over there.
Yes, yeah, that's definitely one of my favorite cocktail spots.
Salt Rock. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
It's been nice to have these options open up, and I think with COVID, when we had a lot of guests in here, it's also forced the next generation of entrepreneurs. There was this short time in town last year where we didn't have a lot of coffee either, and so then people went, and now we have a number of coffee proprietors that have opened up in town, so people can get coffee. But I mean, Starbucks has a line sometimes down the door, you know.
Really?
Because people just want to drink coffee early. If you're staying in a big hotel, like our friends across the way, they provide a coffee bar, but no, I would assume everybody does now. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd rather kind of stay at a place like the Creekside Inn if possible when I go on vacation. It's hard to do though. There's not a lot of them out there. I mean, you drink a lot of wine. I'm going to assume you see a lot more places like this in wine country.
I haven't spent a lot of time like in Arizona wine country, because if I'm going up to Verde Valley, I usually stay in Sedona, as opposed to going and staying closer to the actual wine regions. But I hope to rectify that. And even south, we're hopefully going to Wilcox and Sonoyta in October. So.
Ooh,
well, that's
very
where,
nice.
if I'm not mistaken, still a lot of the grapes come up here too.
Yes. Yeah.
A wine.
Wilcox actually.
I'm still digesting.
I think
one
it's
of the
something.
wine bars too. I mean,
I think it's around. They supply around 80% of the grapes,
For
or at
the
least the
state.
last I looked. It could be even more now, but. And everybody's always experimenting and trying to see what grows. Emil and Cindy have a brand new vineyard that they planted. They have Cove Mesa Vineyard, and then they have Solaire. And they just planted that, I think, last year. So that has all new, vineyards coming in. So, and I'm sure they're not the only ones.
There's going to be more now that happened with I mean, we have friends in town that have, recently acquired some wine tour businesses and stuff like that, because there's just such...
I definitely see a lot more wine tours, or even buses leaving, or wine tours leaving from Phoenix.
Yeah.
And they'll bring you up
That's
here.
what I was going to say, the same. I mean, you imagine what you could do with a tour bus and a microphone and talking to your people.
Well, we'll have you guide, and I'll pour and drink wine with the guests.
Oh,
You
there
mean
you go.
like make me be the face on camera?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm in.
Being that it's Arizona, you can still drink on
could-
the
we could
bus
do
while
beer
you're
and
on the-
wine.
There you
I
go.
like that. I
Like an
like
old
that.
kegger,
Yeah.
except instead of going to San Felipe, you're going to Sedona.
I like it.
It's not spring break. You could do adult spring break in Sedona.
Yeah.
Bring up all your great chefs. We could collaborate up here, and everybody, we can make food stations and have a little fun, like a food circus,
I think
That
that sounds
doesn't
food
sound so
circus.
bad.
right?
I like that.
A lot of people, like you said, the Wild Time Group, I mean, they were really kind to us. Last year we did a dinner for, and again, you asked what's possible. So anything really is possible. You just ask to reach out. It's not a quantity driven experience. It's going to be a quality driven experience. So in a town like this, those things are commensurate. If you're going to have quality experience, a quality time, and all that good stuff, those things, they usually run at a different, you know what I mean? The price is usually commensurate with it. There's no way around it, right? And so we have 6 rooms, and so the breakfast is included. But I don't know what people go out in town spend now for a breakfast, or like the breakfast burrito that you had this morning. But for instance, that breakfast burrito, the tortilla that you had, that's from a local purveyor. Her name's Tomalisa. She uses all almost organic stuff as and she makes traditional home style tamales and Mexican plate food. It's delicious. It's delicious. So we're grateful for those relationships.
And they're important.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's the community supporting the community, and it.
Yep.
I think we spend $25 a week there, but sometimes so Darren used to be the executive chef also at the Verde Valley School, and so they would collaborate with each other there, and that's one of the finest boarding schools, or in the state of Arizona. I think it actually is. I don't know if you're aware of it.
No. I didn't.
If I'm not mistaken, back before COVID, they used to do a big kind of farm to table fair, and the proprietor of Mariposa, she used to have a big deal with that too. And a lot of local chefs used to collaborate. But there was this time where we had 2 or 3 restaurant groups in town, and now we're starting to see more.
Yeah.
Like I said, Shorebird one time, and we did a group of 12 ladies from New York. They weren't staying here, but they were persistent, and they wanted to have a bachelorette dinner. So we did a farm-to-table dinner with them. And this is one of those funny hospitality stories, I guess I could tell. But they wanted to have fish, and we said, fish, that's not farm to table. I mean, we get you trout, but you're not going to want trout. They're like, no. So it's hard sometimes to get snapper of size or whatever. So we reached out to the CEO of Wild Time, if you know him. And
Heinrich?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very helpful guy. And he hooked us up with, and I went to Shorebird the next day, and I got 2 huge snappers.
Oh,
you can go
nice.
see them in our Instagram from last year. I mean, and so that kind, and so here's me and him, and he's running his show, and I'm doing a number of things, and there we are talking about trying to get 2 fish from each other. And it was a big deal, it was helpful. But that's how Sedona
I love
works.
hearing those kind of stories.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And that's what it's about, right? Is other people helping others, because I don't know, sometimes in a place like Sedona, the truck doesn't make it, as I mentioned to you, in weddings or catering. That's why we do a lot more now here in-house. We cook efficiently, we cook up to 50. We'd like to see ourselves grow a little bit further, maybe up to 99 as that goes
What's
forward.
the largest number of people you've ever done as like the farm to table dinner we're doing tonight?
We've done that as big as 100, but that would be more towards like a benefit dinner. And there's a lot of charity and stuff like that where they want to have that dinner. We're totally down to collaborate and play along with that kind of stuff because we want to keep everybody going. And the more we can use the tools, the sharper we stay, right?
And I have to say, so the first trip we went on, our last trip, it was winter. It was actually nice because they have a fireplace.
Oh, yeah.
So we had this beautiful table set up in front of the fire. So, whatever season of the year, it's going to be beautiful.
Was she in the wood fireplace room?
No, she was actually in the room where Luke's staying in the Moonstone.
Okay.
So Moonstone is a bridal favorite. So usually the bride and groom stay there afterwards. But we have a larger suite, which is the honeymoon suite as well. But that's got a separate sitting room and a bathroom, but every room has a different feel. I think, as you mentioned, you were in the Onyx room with me as I was checking a guest in today, getting the ice and water down. How
many have been renovated?
So fully, well, now all of them have been touched. There's
Okay.
really none left. We do try our best to keep what we would say like an entry level suite because we want people to get in here and see what we're doing so that they can come. We get a lot of guests from some of the larger hotels in town that are more expensive, that are over the larger hotel feel. I think we've entered an era where people, like, as much as valet parking is nice, I mean, it's expensive, number one, but it's nice when you're on vacation to not feel like, okay, we just got to the hotel, I have to pull everything out of the car right now.
Right.
Or I got to call the valet, ring them back up, be the guy. Do I tip them? Do I not tip them?
Yeah.
What's the story? So we're right here. You got the parking. You got the Wi-Fi. You got water in your room. You have coffee. Generally speaking, I think, as I mentioned today,
the amenities are so welcoming. You have your
the rain
welcome
shower.
package. You have the nice jug of delicious Sedona water. You have
Yeah.
everything you could and I love how you have an filled ice bucket in the refrigerator. That's those little touches.
The smell
nice.
when you walk into the room. It's going to be a lot of work once I leave my room to get it back that original set.
Well, my husband already said, make sure you take a picture of the shower because he said, I want to do that in our house.
Yeah.
Well, the
Yeah.
odds are, I mean, and I believe in odds and probabilities that you're driving here from somewhere. You're not flying here. There's no commercial. The closest commercial airport of service is going to be in Prescott, and in Prescott, then they have direct flight. I know for certain LA directly, but it's a nighttime flight. You don't get in until 9:30. I mean, getting into Sedona at 9:30, very limited dining options. So in that regard, some people have late flights. Like I had a couple last year. They had this is what happens in hospitality, but I'll try and lap it back. But they came from Denver. Their flight was delayed. They got here at midnight. They had a 2-night stay, and at 12:45, the fire alarms went off. They had something wrong in their room, And luckily, I was on site, which happens. Sometimes we have people on site depending on how busy we are, and we were able to nip that in the bud. But these things happen, and so we do put a little treat in the room. Sometimes it's sweet, sometimes it's savory. We're playing with it a little bit more.
I think the last time we were here, we had welcome cookies, and then the next day, our afternoon treat were the biggest chocolate-covered strawberries I think I've ever had.
Nice.
They were delicious.
Is that what my quinoa bowl was yesterday?
I need to figure that out.
I'm just teasing.
I forgot about it after the dinner. Where did we go to dinner last night?
Butterfly burger.
Yeah, and that's also
Another one of Lisa Dahl's
Yeah.
spots.
Very, very good.
And you're going?
We're going to Pisa Lisa, the new location on Saturday.
Oh, dang. You're up here for a few days then, huh? Well, actually, tomorrow's Saturday. Yeah.
It is?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, tomorrow's Saturday. Okay.
I think so.
Have you ever tried the new Indian Gardens version? Are you familiar in Flagstaff? Have you ever had pizza coletta?
Yes. I been to Indian Gardens, but before Caleb from Pisa Coletta bought it.
When the Garlands were running it, yeah. But he's running it now, but I suggest you and it's only in certain seasons, but on Monday nights and Friday nights, they do pizzicoletta in the garden. It's magical.
Ooh,
like you like it here, but now they've and again, it takes us all. It's a slow burn in Sedona. You know, not everybody's like Collie, where you open the door, her beer tastes great, and there's a line out the door for like just weeks at a time.
Well, every time we come up, we try to try a new place. So last time we had lunch at Della Piane.
Yeah.
And loved it.
Yeah.
And
That was cool too. He used to be right across the way.
He has paella tonight.
Well,
He
you know
messaged
he's from
me on Facebook
he's
to
from
say-
South America.
Yes,
And so
and I love that menu.
And so they used to be
empanadas.
across the way here, and we used to send people there all the time because they were open a little bit late. But he's also a DJ. He's very talented, very artistic, very Sedona. But they have an active bar. I want to go. Maybe after he hears us plugging the. I mean, we were there. I was there on. Tuesday night, I took 2 of my associates with me there on Tuesday night, and we had their burger. I mean, it's good. They use Neiman ranch
And I
beef.
feel like they have 9 to 12 different burgers.
Oh, he's got great burgers.
And they do for anybody who's a vegetarian or vegan. They have a huge vegetarian vegan options on
And
it.
he just knocked out. He went to a much larger space, like what happens here, and like the same reason that Sedona Beer Company is expanding, and other special brands. Like, let's say everybody knows Local Juicery here in town as well. Like they have another second location, and I mean, because at certain times of year, it's too much. Yeah. And everybody wants to try it, and then people get impatient, and you don't really want that. We are a tourist forward and friendly town. I mean, I guess if we took tourism out now, we'd have a lot less options. But look, we have every grocery store on the main highway. Yeah. We have Whole Foods, Natural Grocer, Bash's, Safeway. It's a pretty good selection.
No Trader Joe's though, man. Like that's,
Can you plug that? You have to
I'm a
drive.
huge
You have to
Trader
drive. They're only they're only as
sponsor.
far north as Prescott.
Okay.
So
yeah,
so
okay.
believe it or not, though, there are teams here of people that rotate. Like you have a group, right, of friends, and one of you goes, maybe it depends what your consumption of Trader Joe's rate is, but maybe you go once a week or once every 2 weeks, and then you work in droves, and like you go get me what I need, and then 2 weeks later
You're
I go.
muling Trader Joe's up.
It's a daisy chain to Trader Joe's.
I've heard that in craft beer, and I'm sure it happens in wine and all kinds of things. But for it to happen with Trader Joe's, I'd be the same. Like if I lived somewhere that I couldn't get it, I would want it. And then Trader Joe's pulls the old trick too, where it's like, hey, where are those, the Takis that you guys used to make? They're like, oh, we don't make them anymore. Are you kidding me? Like I stopped eating the other Takis because of your Takis. But no, they told me last time the Takis are, they were just out of stock, so nobody freak out.
So you have
but,
a love-hate relationship with Trader Joe's?
Yeah. There's sometimes I'm like, damn it, why'd you guys take that away? But that's the nature.
They've got
of
a
the
hot
game.
sauce right now. I'm like, I'm bananas over it. And it's just the reason I love it. I mean, and again, it'll relate back to what we're after here with the food. Is that we're after simple ingredients. We want it to be. We're very cognizant of the amount of salt and sugar that goes into. I mean, Sedona's got a healthy connotation, and so food is evolving up here too. It's becoming less heavy. It's becoming less traditional, old school red booth food. And you're seeing more inventive stuff. And Christina, you do a fabulous job showcasing the chefs in town.
Oh,
and
thank you. Well, I always say, when somebody thanks me, if you didn't do what you did, I wouldn't have anything to showcase.
But where did you go? Where did you go for lunch yesterday?
Junipine, where Brett Vibber and his team are up there, and
and they have a gorgeous property up there.
Gorgeous property, and
Yes.
everything. I had a cocktail made with I love Negronis, and Justin did a crab apple infused Campari from a crab apple tree right there. Those dumplings, you have them today with
the wild mushrooms.
Yeah, I think it was spruce tip honey.
Yeah. Oh, it
He
was.
has
It
on
was
it,
a.
or
It was
spruce
a.
tip butter.
Now I gotta
Spruce
go for
tip
these
emulsion.
dumplings. Man.
Like I thought it was like I knew better as he's because he's like, hey, you hungry? I'm like, always. Like I am always hungry. So he's like, I'm gonna make this. Well, I'm like, I want to come back and get some shots, right? So as he's making it, I'm like, it looks like guacamole, but I know it's not guacamole with
Right.
it being Brett Vibber, and it was a juniper. Or would you just say spruce tip emulsion? So it's like this foamy type of stuff. And then I don't know if he used chiltepine honey on it.
That's what it was, the chiltepine
and
honey.
the wild mushrooms were inside of them.
So flavorful. In fact, I was talking to Brett about how good they are. And Jaron actually makes them, Chef Jaron. And he said at one of the wine dinners, after they served them, everybody wanted more plates. And he was like, no, there's more courses coming up,
Well, if I'm not mistaken, we gave it to you pretty good last time when you were here for dinner, right?
That was amazing. I think it was like 6 courses, 5 courses.
Well, we pack a nice, you got to have a good portion, when you're on vacation too. I mean, it's bigger. As I say, dinner on vacation is the Super Bowl every night. And that's why we trend away from...
I like that.
Because we trend away from... You're travel writers, you're food writers, but people that also travel spend days and weeks. They know where they're going to stay. Then the next piece is like, where are we going to eat? Mm-hmm. And they may message each other back and forth for days at work. What's it going to be? This dish looks better. That looks better. So it's the Super Bowl every night. So,
and it was nice last night when we were at Amara, because when you sit at the bar, we always meet the nicest people. But, there were people who work at the Vault where they are having drinks. This other couple was going to Stagecoach. Another couple was going to Mariposa. So it's just nice to hear the conversation about where are you going, where are you having lunch. And then there's an Italian place that's been around for a long time. Starts with a G.
Gerardo's.
Yes.
No, Gerardo's is dope. And I'll plug out his son. His son just finished school.
I have it on my list now.
So... make sure they've been an institution as well. They're
and
on
I
the
love
west
that
side.
kind of thing. People have been around for a while.
But if I'm not mistaken, his son just finished a course in food and hospitality in Italy too, and now he's over there and making fresh mozzarella and pizzas. And they have an old school, which is hard to do. Obviously, Pizza Lisa has the wood burning oven, but those are a big investment. Mm-hmm. The real.
Yeah, I think her original one had 1, and the new one has 2. I think she put in.
But pizza's now becoming a big deal in town. Obviously, mm-hmm. I said with Pizza Coletta coming down into Indian Gardens, and they do that on certain nights. That's a really special occasion. They do music in there too. So there's a lot happening in the food and beverage,
and it's really pretty there.
Right?
The patio is. Well, it's like this. It's kind of hidden away, shaded.
It's a secret garden.
Yeah, it's a secret garden. It's beautiful.
Oh, thanks. Oh, wow. Thank you for the service, my
Is this
friend.
a new employee of yours?
Well, no. It's actually, if I'm not mistaken, it's your employee, though.
My business partner, Luke. Yes. Luke, nice job. Add that to your resume of skills. Pouring rosé.
I'm pretty good at it.
So, Christina, when I come up to Sedona, and since I've been coming, 2008 was probably the first time I was here. It was limited on what you could eat, and if you were coming through to busy time, it was. I love food, and I'm okay waiting or dealing with crowds and stuff. But like my wife and in-laws are like, can we just drive somewhere else? Stop somewhere quick.
Well, that's why I actually prefer to come up, as Adam was saying, during the week.
Sure.
If you can.
Yeah.
Sedona, with my schedule now more flexible, that's what I try to do.
I guess where I was going with it is when you can have places that deserve that hype, or deserve the rate. It makes that infrastructure of things, traffic moving a little bit slower. It's more, you got more motivation. Like, well, shit. Like, I don't know where I'm going with that.
I know what you're saying. It's more of a draw.
Exactly. Yeah, and it has become more of that. That's what I was asking if you've seen that.
To me, it's a full-fledged foodie destination, whereas before it was a beautiful city with great food.
There you go.
But now I think it's worth it just to come and,
Well, the resorts have always had the ability, right? Because they don't have a choice. If you're a certain style or star hotel, you have to offer room service. You have to offer 24.
Like L'Auberge to me was always beautiful.
Cress and if you're fans of Atria, she came through here.
And that's actually, I met Rochelle at L'Auberge.
I look forward to trying her meals sometime.
Yeah.
We don't get up there often.
We actually had dinner together the last time. We're in Flagstaff.
Well, we look forward to cooking her breakfast.
You mean when I was there?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was like, wait, again, without me? Come on, Christina.
Yeah, it was pretty spectacular. We've done the tasting menu both times.
But there's there's Enchantment that has, those are the 2 biggest resorts we have probably in town, and they have food and beverage programs.
Yeah.
People are paying, a lot of money to stay there, so they want the food to taste good too. But I think you're right. If you've been coming to Sedona for more than 10 or 15, 20 years, there's always been a little bit of that gap before, and I think it's closing. It's going to take a little bit while longer, but it's like I said yesterday, it's a bit of a slow burn up here, and you just have to stick with your people and keep supporting them.
And I think people are appreciating it more. You know, obviously Lisa Dahl is, you know, the forerunner of who started putting
call her
things
the
on
Queen
the map.
Bee up here, you know.
And then you have Elote Cafe. I'm a huge fan of
And
Jeff's.
he moved, you know, he used to, I mean, we used to have people that came in, you know, when he was, if I'm not mistaken, he was the first, like, awarded chef up here.
Yeah, and he was nominated for a beard
Yeah.
again last year,
Jeff
I think. Was
Schmedstead,
it?
you know.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, we would do the wait because it
Yeah.
was worth
I was
it.
telling you this story yesterday that people would come up and wait sometimes
We
from
would
the valley
stay
3.5, 4 hours.
We would stay
Yeah.
at that hotel just so we could wait for the. But we would try to go right when it opened.
It's
but,
directly across the road from us, and now your friends.
now it's
you're-
Mole,
Yeah.
which is led by Roberto Madrid, who works
And he
with the,
got you, like, he set you up last time because I thought,
You
I
saw-
thought you had so much food coming out. I was like, this
He's
is going to be
ruining
tough
them
for
for
them, man.
dinner.
We may need to give them an extra night to relax here, okay, after all this
This is
food
when you hosted her last time and
Yeah,
then brought
yeah.
out the meals.
I
and-
think
yeah.
you had a private dinner, which is what we do a lot of. And so everything is available, you know, if you want to do it for all. I mean, the idea is that you can have a private dinner for two. But you can also, if you want to have a family event or a corporate event that's private, you can do it. It's small. We have 6 rooms. But there's a great hotel across the way called the Arabella, and we partner with them all the time. They do a lot of our weddings.
Great
and that's where
spot.
Mole
I
is
actually
as
stayed
well.
there last time.
And I think
Yeah.
you've all stayed there as well, yeah. And so in that sense, like, this is a great place for everybody to convene. We don't have a shortage of abilities.
so people don't have to stay here to book a dinner. Or
Currently, they do.
okay,
Currently, they do. We hope to be able to work a little bit more forward into that space and time as we evolve, but
you obviously want to give the people staying here kind of the first.
not just the
room.
first, but also, you know, you'll see tonight, you guys are having dinner for, if I'm not mistaken, 5? You'll have some drinks. I presume it'll get a little lively. It's fun.
Yeah, I
You got-
believe Luke has some Tucson whiskey with him from.
Oh, well, he's got a little bit of a little
What is
bit.
it,
What do you
a
got, Luke?
limited
What do you, he's like, let
release
me come
from,
over here. Let me tell you guys.
Delback?
We finished one of my favorite Arizona whiskeys last night, which is a mesquite smoked whiskey
Oh, I like that
from
they
Oh, we did
Finished it.
finish it. Yeah, we
Yeah.
did finish that.
Or did Luke finish it?
I
Was it
brought
just
something.
Luke?
I wish it was. I brought something
I
for
had a
you
good
too,
amount.
some barrel aged gin from the same distillery.
Ooh, I'm excited.
So that's it is Canyon Diablo. Yep, out of Flagstaff.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I
They're
feel like
very-
I've had their stuff, but not for a long time. So only when they first, started distilling.
Well, so we put an episode out with them. I don't know, maybe like a month ago. So right, maybe like in July, sometime in July, we did an episode with them, and the story of them is really cool because they were originally like Mogollon Brewing, and I remember moving out here, and that was one of the ones that were on my list, and then they closed, and then for a while they were out of business, and then they kind of revived the distillery side of it, and they had all these great recipes like a mesquite smoked single malt, right?
A gin, though, I'm really excited.
Yeah,
about
well,
that.
this one is at Clabberfoot, right? Clabberfoot is a what do they call it? A Tom.
Old Tom
Old
gin.
Tom gin,
Old
yeah.
Tom
Yeah,
gin, yeah.
so
It's
it's
a
a little
bar-
sweeter. like
Yeah,
Old Tom
this
is.
one,
Yeah.
it's interesting. I don't know if they infuse it before they barrel age it or what, but it's pretty balanced. Still tastes pretty fresh for a barrel aged gin.
Yeah.
And I think you'll like it a lot because it
What
has
time
those.
is checkout tomorrow?
that may be flexible, you know, depending on your review, of course.
Yeah, how
you
much
know,
gin I drink.
you know. Well, you know, there is, of course, breakfast to soak that up tomorrow. If I'm not
Yes.
mistaken, you probably already know what
and
it
I
is
should
on
add,
your
which I
menu.
really love too. You get these sheets and you check off what you want for breakfast. But I love that you also do. Like I view the coffee service as separate because you get your coffee and there's always like those churros today. So it's
moozes.
not
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
just the main breakfast.
Coffee
it's
was
always
good.
This, yes,
That's
yeah.
locally roasted down the way at Ren Tao.
What is it called?
Ren Chow.
Ren Tao.
Ren
They're
Tao,
inside,
okay.
Oak Creek, Ren Tao. And we really like that. I mean, a lot of our guests really comment on the coffee.
Yes, yeah.
It's nice to get a warm set of coffee. And so that's also an odd thing where COVID forced the changes. We had always anticipated over the years to deliver room service to the room, but now it goes without saying. It's a little bit difficult sometimes because being Sedona, some people get up and hike really early and trying to play with that. So there's a little bit of the balance of what time is breakfast and when can I have it and let me have it. And so we've come to a place where sometimes if people are ahead with us, we can get a little to-go sandwich going for them. We like to really curb as much as we can, whatever the allergy is, everything's available gluten-free. We do use gluten here, but there are days where people wouldn't even know. Like one of our favorite things is a yeasted waffle, which I think you had last time.
Yes.
The yeasty waffle.
Yes.
We were talking about that yeasty waffle last night, if you remember. But
It was the perfect waffle, crispy, airy, a little like creamy in the very center of it.
Was that me that I pulled
I
myself?
think we're good.
Check.
Are we back?
I think we got a loose cable or something.
What happened?
Lots of sound. Hello? That's not just in our headphones.
Oh, you had it there.
The car's not maxed out, is it?
You're good.
No, we're good. It was just some. I think one of the cords got pulled. It was
So I
Adam. Just kidding. As I try to steal the last bite of his lemon bar.
You can have
No,
this
I
whole
was teasing.
wall,
I was
dude.
teasing.
Come on, what are you
Have
waiting
you had
for?
that?
I think
the
they
lemon
know
bar?
where more can be
You have
found
one?
here.
Okay, I'll have that. Don't mind.
I know
if
where the
do.
rosemary is. It's right in front. I mean, we have blackberries down in the creek
Oh
here.
yeah, I was wondering what kind of things you have.
So
here.
right here we do. We have a little bit of blackberries. We have rosemary. I mean, we've tried to grow different things, but what we've come to the realization is that we live with one in our wildlife. I don't know if you've seen our resident javelinas. We have a pack that has, and there's little piggies this year. They're growing every year. They're growing. They're ruts right at the end of our property, so they get down when it's hot. They get wet. What we've learned about the javelina is it's actually really not a pig. It's the collared peccary, and they're primarily
okay.
They have a very vegetarian lifestyle, and I presume right here we have some guests checking in.
Oh, yeah.
That are probably walking around to see where they're at and what they're doing and what's happening.
Admiring the property.
Right?
Already impressed. We waved to him.
But that pig, we have like 26 of them, and they eat a lot of the blackberries down there. And then that's available. But the apple is the big deal up here. Really, we have an apple tree. And we're having a little bit of a late apple run, but Sedona used like the first cash crop up here in Sedona was the apple.
Somebody just told me, maybe it was Brett, somebody just told me that. I did not know that.
You'll see on the Sedona town sign when you come in and this, that, and the other, the apple is there. And if you go to the end of our street here, and I encourage you to walk down there before you leave, there's a big apple orchard down there. There's a friend of ours. He makes apple cider.
This way down the street?
Yeah. And a couple of people have goats and all that good stuff, but I don't encourage everyone to walk down there. I mean, that's the thing is that Sedona's a very small town, and so we encourage our guests to be very cognizant of the fact that we live, but this property's in a nice piece of town. We're respectful of our neighbors. It's a little hard sometimes when we have a wedding and we have amplified music, but we do pay attention to the rules and stuff like that. We
Good
have
neighbors,
we
basically.
do our best. We do our best. But it's a nice, friendly community. Sedona's great.
And you really have a special spot.
Sure.
For your first visit, was it what you pictured or?
I didn't know. Well, first of all, we had this conversation on the episode we did yesterday that's released on TapThat, but I thought I was getting catfished by a Hollywood Adam Goldberg.
That is. So, I hope he listens to this. He never will. It is my dad's first cousin's son, by the way.
Yeah.
At our great aunt, may she rest in peace, Aunt Selma, we did walk her together and have that conversation about how often in a situation like this.
Yeah.
And I always say, no, I'm not. I do live in Hollywood, but I am not a Hollywood type person. But
He has a Hollywood
I guess here we
phone
are doing
number.
Hollywood in
Right,
Sedona,
yeah,
right?
for sure,
We're in
for
my
sure.
recording studio in Sedona, so I guess I am Hollywood. But
Well, no, from the beginning, because what I thought was really cool was you had connected with me through TapThat separately than connecting with you and connecting with Luke. So it was that's what I loved, is that you kind of appreciated all aspects of what we do.
Well, we saw everybody like y'all, as we would say, appear to be a team, right?
Yeah.
So if we can create an opportunity for teams to roll together and get some space and have a little retreat, and maybe
And we've actually never done this where we stayed at the same place.
No.
And did a really nice collaborative.
Well, welcome to
effort.
Family Camp
Yeah.
2022,
We will see you
a
next
taste
week.
of AZ
Sure, yeah.
version.
Our weekly
Well,
retreat. Yes.
let's do it right, and we could do it. We could do it and do it and do it. We were talking last night. Hopefully you'll be able to shine a little bit of light further on the food and beverage and the things that our chefs are doing up here, because we do encourage people to come up at this time of the year. It is warm, but guess what? It's a lot cooler than it is down
Yeah.
in Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
We
Much
may have
cooler.
a few more mosquitoes here in the creek, but it's worth it.
Yeah. Well,
It's definitely worth it.
well, I'll give my experience with, right. You were asking about what I expected, right? So I've been to Sedona before, and they're the places that we stayed at, the place across the street there before. But this was different, right? Because as I'm looking at the map, it's like go left, and I'm like, I've always wanted to go left, right? Because it's all you have all these things up
What's to the left,
What's to the
right?
left? Because you can see it's green. You can't even really see into, but there's some
You
cool
actually
shit.
don't see it until you turn into the parking lot.
Yeah. Well, so you turn left instead of continuing and going into that, going into the Tlaquepaque area, right?
Yeah, right into I say the heart of it all. in
Yeah.
Sedona.
But you get to turn left before that happens. Come down this driveway, and then when you come into this parking lot and you see this, all like a one-story space.
Secret
It's-
garden.
Yeah, very secret garden. I was like, oh, this
Well,
is
Down
if you
by the
notice
bayou,
the color,
we say down
the
by the
color
bayou.
kind of blends in too. It's like that
Yeah.
forest green and
It's almost a little bit. I like mystery sometimes, where it's like, where do I check in? Like
Yeah.
which area? Because there's vegetation like growing up, and there's beautiful lights. So just immediately, I was, I joke about it a little bit, but I was like, I don't know if I should be here. Like this is above
Do
my.
I belong
know,
here?
exactly. Yeah. And then immediately, saw Adam, and we'd been having a lot of communication back and forth leading up to this. So to put a face to the name and all that. And then everything since then has just been incredible. Like you go into the rooms, we'll go into my room, which is, I think you said, like the cowboy style.
You're in the amber room, and so
Yeah.
that has a Western flair to
I
it.
love the uniqueness of each room.
Yes,
how
yeah.
they're all
And
different.
then Christina's in the rose quartz.
Yeah, which is beautiful.
And
And
Luke
like I said, my husband wants
watching
to
over
steal
us.
the bathroom design.
We our group has experience in that, and so we designed and executed those ourselves. We have a good architect in town named Eric Brandt. He's really good. He's been helpful. You need to have local people to help you out in the local town.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, I mean, we want to. It should feel a little bit like home,
Yeah.
It definitely does.
Yeah.
but it
absolutely.
should taste a lot better.
Yeah. That needs to go on a shirt. It should feel like home,
Oh, but taste a lot better.
Yeah.
But it
There you
is
go.
definitely one of the things that impressed me the most is the care and thought about sourcing.
Sure. Yes, absolutely.
Like the last time we were here, we were talking to Brittany and Darren, and they even mentioned like how much they spend on gas going to the farmers market.
Darren now got an electric car, so that's not an excuse anymore. So I'm going to let him know that we talked about his electric car. But they're awesome, to have a team together, partnership, and it's kind of like, do you want to encourage that? Do you not want to encourage that? And so as time's gone forward, there was some odd circumstances that brought us all together and to me be their direct leader, and so it's just really worked out well, and they've grown immensely in the product that they're putting out, and people love them.
Yeah, very, very talented. You're in for a treat tonight.
And I'm grateful to be underneath their guidance in a lot of ways, because they know what they're doing with food. They've both cooked in big kitchens for big people for big events.
Yeah,
The Grammys,
when you
the
talk to
Emmys.
Darren, you'll probably know some of the people that he knows.
I mean,
down
he
in
was the
valley.
lead
Oh, really?
saucier.
Okay.
He was the lead saucier for Wolfgang for a long time in his catering department. I mean, and Brittany catered there too, and Brittany spent a lot of time here too. I mean, they have 2 kids that they raise as well, and that's the one flip side of not doing dinner, is that they get to cook dinner at home for their kids. I take a lot of pride in that. Not tonight. They're going to have fun too.
Right.
Sure.
So we
Yeah.
pick a certain amount of nights, right, a year where we say, let's throw down and let's have fun.
Yeah.
And these are one of those nights, right? And this is a summer night where you guys are investing in your business, I'm investing in mine. We're all going to have some fun. And that's what it should be about, and they're going to do their best art, right? And you guys are going to get your phones out, and you're going to do what you do, and you're going to do your best art.
Yeah.
And then your people are going to be watching you, and then we're going to see what happens, you know what I mean? And that's the fun part about business now. And that's what I reply back to our food, is that our food comes back in a tray every day. And I say, this is the Instagram poll that's instant. Because we get to see, did you eat the tacos? Did
Right.
you not?
Yeah.
And we actually care, because if an item's not being eaten, we take it off. Like, why? Like, we're not selling it to you. We're like we're not a restaurant, but we're almost like an omakase table with rooms.
I can't imagine
T-shirt
you
number
take
2.
much off the menu, though, because everything
Well,
I've
they
had
do.
is so
We
good.
rotated. Like, I mean, for instance, you're here 2 nights. I didn't want you to see, but if I'm not mistaken, last time you saw the yeasty waffle, which we already talked about, and you saw the biscuit sandwich. Well, the
Oh,
biscuit
yeah,
sandwich
the
already
biscuit
came out
sandwich is so
Wednesday this week, but
Right.
Darren makes a wicked biscuit. It is the best
It's-
sandwich in Sedona,
Yeah.
bar none. I've eaten
I'll
all
send
the-
you a picture of last time.
I
can't
have
wait
a
to
couple
see the
friends
picture,
at the
huh?
Outlaw Grill. They have
wanna
a great
eat it.
chicken sandwich, but his biscuit's great. You had that.
Yep, it was great.
Well, I just think it's interesting that we're talking so much about food at a inn. At an inn.
Well,
right?
and you
What's
can
the proper
and you
inn?
can see how proud Adam is
Yeah.
about it. Which
Oh,
is,
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's their food.
Yeah.
I'm just going to make sure that you're able to eat it and enjoy it.
Well,
and-
that's
Yeah.
very nice of you to.
Thank you.
I mean, we all work within the parameters, though. I guess I'm a little bit more stringent on, let's use simple ingredients. Let's find everything we can from locally. Let's invest in those people, and let's see what we can do. Again, there's, you're not going to see salmon tonight. There's no salmon in the river
Right.
behind us. We can.
Well, I love that. I asked Adam. I said, "Do you know what's on the menu yet?" Because what wines to pair, and he's like, "Oh, they haven't been to the farmers market yet." I love that answer.
I called my wife and I said, the sommelier asked me what she should bring for wine. And I'm just going to say there's no seafood.
Well, I love that he said, "Just bring some big bold red." So I also have a Cab Franc from Flying Leap,
Oh, nice.
which is very, very hard to find, or at least the year we looked. We actually had to drive up to Sedona to get it because it was at one of the vineyards.
Oh, Flying Leap, you said, right?
Yes.
Where's Flying Leap out of?
They're
Wilcox?
down south. Yeah,
Okay.
Wilcox.
Yeah.
Well, they have a few tasting rooms, but the distillery and winery is down in
Gotcha.
Wilcox.
Okay.
so you brought all local Arizona
Yeah,
wine.
yeah.
We try our best. It's not possible
I
to get
almost did some Russian River valleys. I just went to the Pinot Forum, but then I said,
I saw that.
we already have, Cove Mesa White and Rosés for tonight. So I brought it. Oh, and a Cove Mesa Sangiovese.
Ooh,
I actually
I
bought
like
6
that.
bottles. I'll probably bring 4 to dinner, and then we'll go from there.
And if I'm not mistaken, you wrote a book about wine,
Yes, yeah.
particular to Arizona. So when we sit here and ask you questions about wine, it's not like asking somebody who just opens a bottle. you
No,
know.
I'm really happy to share the story because there was never a book written about Arizona wine before. That one came out. And it's really a history and testament to the vintners and the people that have shaped it. So
Yeah.
whereas my contract with the publisher was the history, I actually divided into 2 parts. The first part is the early history, but the whole second half is just conversations with the winemakers because I wanted people, if they're going to have one of Kent Callaghan's wine, to know what he's like because of the
Yeah.
interview. So that's, I hope that came across in the book.
Well, we hope maybe when our guests come in, they'll be able to read one of your books.
Well, I
sometime.
brought some copies.
There we
so-
go. And, you can plug it and we'll plug it, and hopefully they'll get themselves some because that's important. The information is really key. A lot of our guests like to be educated. We have some books on the history of Sedona, why we're here, how important that water is down in that creek. A lot of people, take little extractions of that creek and put it in their beer or put it in their gin or whatever because they want to relate it back to what we're doing here in Sedona.
Yeah.
Everyone likes to kind of do their best to keep it local. It's very hard to do sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've been hearing that around town a lot when you get
Well,
more.
even Brett's tomato salad yesterday was with watercress from their creek.
Yeah, we
yeah.
have some down in ours here too. But yeah, no, we compete with those javelinas.
I
Yeah.
bet.
Yeah.
And we have deer
You don't
too.
want to mess with those
No,
javelinas.
we have
Yeah.
deer,
Oh, yeah.
and we've got some nesting eagles next door this year. We normally get hawks in. We get bobcats. We get it all. Wild animals, wild people, you name it. It's,
Saw a spider earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And this year we're seeing some really big beetles, like rhinoceros beetles and stuff.
Oh, yeah. I've
Yeah.
seen those. Yeah.
No,
not
I'm
a
like,
fan. Drink more wine.
Yeah.
So I'll ask you, if you were you've now been here for 24 hours and you have no idea what you're gonna see for dinner. But what would you think you're gonna see for dinner? I'm gonna ask Christina first because she is
Sure.
like a big buff.
Well,
She knows that I learned from her. all
Well,
the time.
especially because of last time, just to give an example, we had a cheese and charcuterie board to share, but every single component was carefully thought of. Why they chose that cheese. I think you had some homemade jam with it and some homemade pickles with it. So
And they roast their own nuts.
Yeah.
And
and at the time, everything was inspired by something they saw at the farmer's market or discovered. So nothing was, I'm going to make this and hope I can find the ingredients. It was the other way around. So,
I like that.
so I'm just excited because it's a surprise.
But everybody eats meat, right?
Yeah.
And I was in a different season too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and everybody.
You were in
eats
winter
meat.
where it was
yeah,
like
so it'll be
warm.
really neat to see what a summer menu is like.
Yeah. I feel there's got to be some beef in there.
I just
For
hope
sure.
I get to taste it.
Oh, you don't even know.
Well, I brought enough
I thought he
wine
was
for
gonna
you
quiz
too.
The
us.
wine I'm
Adam.
not worried about. I hope we get to taste the food,
But they just make it for 5, not 6.
I mean, that's the thing we do. I mean, not to say that there's going to be obviously extra for us, but
Yeah.
we're not for business to make food. Like if you want that experience, we're going to do our best to create the most bespoke version of that. Caitlin, who made your lemon bars here, she does a fantastic lunch. She's even done lunches out all the way into the Red Rocks. And I don't even think I can say it, but technically she used to be one of those people that wears a hat in the U.S. federal park, like the service. She was a federal employee that told stories.
I thought that was a typo when you text me because we were asking about places to eat, and you're like, you need to ask Ranger Kate.
I can't even say that, but
You
yes,
thought it was a
exactly.
typo.
I mean, that was so. When you talk about like whether or not we have an authority on hiking and understanding, I'd say so. I mean, she went to school in Flagstaff, NAU. I mean, she knows it. Darren and Brittany moved here from Southern California. I mean, and they electively moved themselves and their family here, and they're raising their kids here. And there's a quality of life up here. It's a little bit slower, and so that's our hope.
As a
that
hummingbird. No, the gin also. Luke brought the gin, but there's a little hummingbird over there.
Yeah,
Like
you can see pretty clearly
yeah.
too.
What's the most interesting bird you've seen? You guys were watching.
Shh, dude, those eagles
The,
are
the
blowing me
whiskey
away.
bird.
When
The
you guys
whiskey
were
bird.
recording, a baby whitetail deer just cleared
Really?
through, maybe 20 feet from you guys.
This is where I need to be right now.
Well, we
This is-
do on our Instagram.
So we might
ha-
not ever leave. Is that okay?
Well, that's fine. I mean, you're gonna have to start cooking or cleaning at some point. We may all pile into one room together, and the staff quarters and the bunk beds may appear.
I'll sleep out here. This seems like a good place to
Yeah,
sleep.
until you get roasted alive by the mosquitoes this time of year, right?
I take over your studio here.
There you
This
go.
is now. I'll tap that studio.
That's
I
right.
feel like for some reason the reservation line's gonna be ringing for the studio after this one.
it is. This is going to become a retreat studio.
Yeah.
You're going to be getting calls from Dre.
Well, I think I said we've
know.
had music recorded here. We have. I mean,
Yeah.
we invite that, and again, I mean, the most. I'm not, but I would assume the most intimate celebrity could come here and relax and chill. If they want to go into town, great. If they don't, great. If they do, we'll help them figure it out. And if they don't, just stick around.
And actually, now that you say that, with the way the entrances are, you could come and not see anybody if you.
It's kind of the idea.
Yeah,
And believe it
I
or
like
not,
that.
it's 50-50, maybe 60-40. A lot of guests now like that, but certain people want the interaction. They want to feel, they want to know. We have a concierge line that you can text. I think one of you guys hit that yesterday.
I mean, yeah, the door. There wasn't anybody when we came in, and within seconds,
Yeah.
was there. And then,
I mean,
and
and
then
so we
somebody
do
came to
that.
the
That's
door,
what we
yeah.
do. I mean, and that's what we do. So, but we're hopeful that more of your friends, your friends, chefs, and other people that are looking to get out of
Yeah,
town.
I think chefs, especially, because they get very rare time off.
That's
this
what I
would
told.
be.
We talked about it last night as far as like this.
And to have this
this
wonderful meal made
Yeah.
that is kind of the same
and ping
ethos.
us.
and-
Our chefs want vacation. Ping us up. We need
Yeah.
collaborations all the
Yeah.
time.
Right.
Like vacation for staycation. You know what I mean? Like,
So I'm going to ask you something. So
Sure.
so when you said this a few times, I just want to clarify this. So let's say that me and my wife and I, and then a couple friend of ours, right? We're going to get 2 rooms. Where we're like, hey, you know what? We're going to go out to dinner this first night, but this second night we don't want to go out. We love barbecue. Because that's what you said, like, just let you know, right? Is that something? Is that
100%.
Okay. And then you could be like, okay, then you'll figure out, like, all right, here's who we're going to get
when
to
we
barbecue.
cater a wedding, I don't give you a menu. I mean, Brittany sells all the weddings, and Brittany's in charge of all the food ultimately coming out and looking right. and she's got her braids pulled tight. You know what I'm saying? She knows what she's doing is the way that I explain it. So if you want barbecue, we're going to deliver you barbecue. I mean, Darren's a butcher by trade. He's a saucier. We have a barrel smoker. We can do whatever you want to do. It doesn't mean, though, if you're going to do 150, I may not go, where'd you have lunch the other day on your way in? Our friends
Colt.
down the way. Yeah.
Colt, yeah.
So Colt's,
Colt
I don't know
Grill.
if you've done
Grill
that
and
before,
barbecue.
but they started
Good
in
barbecue.
Prescott.
I will add it to the list.
Yes.
They have one in
Yes.
Cottonwood, which they had a heck of a journey to get open. They have a Cottonwood, but they just opened a VOC down the way, Village of Oak Creek. But if we were going to do a big production, I'd probably just say, hey, let's bring them in for barbecue. But for 4, we could do, well, essentially where we're sitting, you'd be having dinner here,
Yeah.
right? Like, and normally at the golden hour, where it gets even a little bit better lit than this.
Yeah.
Because right now it's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, it
with
really
the
is.
Light streaming
So this
through
is
the
the
trees.
hour when most people say I do,
Ah, sure. Yeah.
right? Like, what
yeah.
time is it?
4:38.
Maybe they're on to cocktail hour now,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you know, we have these distinctive spaces too, so you can get married down on the ceremony site. You have a party up over there. You
And I
cocktail.
think people love this too because I notice how flat and level it is.
Yeah.
Sometimes having an outdoor wedding, you have to deal with that a little bit, but it's like the perfect little hidden glen.
It is.
we
It
have
is,
we
yeah.
have one challenge, and that's parking.
Ah.
And we respect our neighbors, and so we can't really overpark. So we use a shuttle system. But again, we partner with a number of people next door, nearby.
And you have it all thought out and planned out anyway.
We didn't
so.
used to, but we do now.
because you didn't used to.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you
Well,
figured
but
out
even
on the
though it
fly.
wasn't our responsibility, and I'm sure the only thing I can relate it to is like in the construction business, like you hire a general contractor and they tell you to use all these subcontractors, and the subcontractor does a bad job. Ultimately, it's the general contractor's responsibility. However, a lot of general contractors say, "Well, I hired a bad sub. Are you going to hire that general contractor again?" You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
sure.
You know, so for us in this situation, we've just decided and said, "Hey, you know, what do you want? This is the price, and this is it." And we realized that it's not a DIY kind of situation for events, but you're going to get the quality and competency that you want here. And we're going to do our best to not let it go wrong. Things happen, but the show's going to go on here,
Yeah.
you know.
And I want to get this in before we sign off. This lemon bar is spectacular.
Yes. Yes.
So tell
Perfect
Caitlin when she
lemon
brings
bar.
her breakfast
Yeah.
tomorrow how good her lemon bar is. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I have it here.
Right?
That was a
Smart
good choice for
thinking.
this one. Yesterday for Tap That, he brought out wings. We had shishito peppers. We had a charcuterie
Oh, I've
board.
seen pictures of your wings.
Yeah,
They
those
look
were good. That
Next time we'll get you on. Like, so Darren spent a lot of time in Asia and Southeast Asia. His Tamman rings are out of this world. Even Collie said yesterday, I was impressed. Now she knows beer eating food. Wings are beer eating food.
Yeah.
But he makes a wicked pad thai just the same.
Really?
It's really out of this world. And so those things for me, you know, but we don't try and do that much. In sense that we stick with bed and breakfast, right? And but if you call, we're gonna
Oh, yeah.
answer.
At some
Yeah.
point, I'm going to be requesting wings and pad thai
Oh,
now.
for sure. Like I'm starting to like.
That's a
think of,
lunch meal because it's like a sleeper. You need a good siesta
Bring some
after
Thai
that.
whiskey.
There you go.
and
Now we're
soda,
there we go.
or-
Some sochu and you're on
and
your
then
way.
you'll join us.
Yeah, I'm
and-
in. I'm
Yeah.
in for that
And we'll
one.
all take a nap after.
There we go. I'm in for that.
My ideas are running wild, dude. I'll be honest
Well,
with
keep
you.
those ideas, running, and talk to your
Yeah.
friends and talk about us, and tell them to be in touch, and
Yeah.
and we'll say yes or no,
Yeah,
Perfect.
But if it's yes, it should be fun like this, right?
for sure.
Yeah, we look forward to having you guys come back up. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
You guys bring a party, whiskey, wine.
multiples.
Yeah,
like
I know.
bottles.
I know.
Of, yeah, but hey, we wouldn't be here without you bringing us up. So thank you once again.
Well, I hope you have a great team party tonight. Enjoy that
Yeah.
meal.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to
yeah,
it. And I'm
yeah.
looking forward to you experiencing it, you
Yeah.
and Luke and Paige, to see. I'll be watching you every time you eat a bite.
I'll be
I'm
watching
like,
her watching you.
Yeah, it's a triangle.
I'll be the guy in the window watching her watching you. And I'll say, Christina, you're not watching him enough. Quit eating.
over there.
Look at him.
Don't. And then I
You
look
want
at
to
you
come
guys,
back? Watch him.
and I see you guys. I'm like, what are you looking at? Don't look at us.
Yeah,
Like, we're
get back
looking
to
at you.
eating, man. You're not allowed to do anything but eat.
You know what? I do. That is one of I guess my gifts is like chefs love to see me eat.
Sure.
Because I love it. Like I truly love. I'm not. I'm not playing it up.
No.
I love it.
Ernesto and I were actually talking about, it'll be so nice to eat with Eric, because sometimes we can't finish the plate and we always feel guilty because it's so delicious. But we're like, somebody who appreciates it will make sure there's nothing left on
I
the
I mean,
will
especially if
finish,
you go to
yeah.
Mole for lunch and they line you up with like a 10 line
Yeah,
tasting course or something
And
like
it
that.
was
He's a great
fantastic.
chef,
He's
chef.
wonderful. He used to be at Deseo down at the Westin Kierland.
And
okay.
they're all collaborative in their group as well.
Yes.
So.
Yes, we've met Jay,
Yeah.
which is what Jay Bird's chicken
Oh yeah. Okay.
is. And that's delicious,
That's
too.
the Nashville
He's
hot
got a
chicken
dope
one.
story
Yeah.
too. You
Yeah.
should have him sometime. You guys should find
I
him.
think he was working before we even moved to Phoenix. We used to go to Michael's at the Citadel
course.
when we visited family, and that's kind of he. I think he told me he was there at the same time.
He's an old school fine dining.
and
in
a
Phoenix.
wonderful person. I mean,
Yeah.
the whole team they're
Yeah.
wonderful people.
So is Heinrich's. I mean, Heinrich's from around the world.
They will
too.
get you
It's world renowned.
snapper.
Yeah, they will get you snapper
Yeah.
if you need it in town. Man.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Well, T-shirt number 3 that we've come up with, right?
They will get you
They will get you
snapper.
snapper. Yeah. I don't know if they're going to jump on that one, but you know,
Certain markets. certain
somebody will.
markets. Yeah.
Somebody will. But no, Adam, thank you so much. We'll wrap it up here. Anything else you want to put out there? Like,
No, you guys have been gracious. We hope you come back up and hang out with us. Tell all your friends, and come back up. Shine that spotlight on all our great restaurants here, so they continue to do what they're doing and they stay busy. They can stay busy. We encourage everybody to come up during summer months, during winter. I don't know if you've been up during winter. We do get snow. It's a real mountain town. We have 4 seasons here. It gets cold.
I'm from New England, so I actually like it when it's cold here because I don't get to feel
We
that.
get late
Yeah.
snow too. 2 seasons ago, the latest snow I got was like April 21st.
Wow.
It snowed 2 inches.
I
I
didn't
got stuck
know.
in the canyon between
Wow.
right by Indian Gardens. I was like, too bad I'm not like right there. I could go there and
Oh,
eat.
right. That's a good place to be
Instead, I was in the
snowed
car
in.
for 5 hours.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
but,
no, right.
But no, we appreciate your resources. We appreciate you guys coming up, hanging out, collaborating, and come back.
Oh, yes.
Come on back now. As we
Do
say.
not twist my arm.
I
Yeah,
won't.
it is
I may.
Or actually, you don't have to twist my arm. You can twist my arm, though.
Well, we look forward to seeing you all around here sometime soon.
yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy.